to the Minutes to Win It podcast. I'm Jason Gilbo at JGilbo11. Breaking down the NBA slate today at Friday here, flying solo, but taking a look at all the games. Decent sized slate tonight and some decent options. There are some low total games like Brooklyn, Utah, Miami, Toronto. But you gotta like the matchup here with Houston and Milwaukee, also Dallas, Oklahoma City, Chicago, Boston. But Indiana Golden State is obviously your high scoring game of the night at 218 total, but the Warriors are 12.5-point favorites, so some blowout concern. And speaking of blowout concern, Spurs take on the Lakers tonight, so you're looking for maybe the starters to even play if Pop comes out today and says they're going to rest him, but look for them to barely get over the 20-minute mark. So just keep your eyes off that game outside of Boban, who we'll talk about in a little bit. Looking at point guard tonight, there are some injuries. Jarrett Jack, who's been out. Donald Sloan has been filling in, playing decent, but not on him for value tonight just because he's playing Utah, who's been good defensively, also play a slow-paced game. And just there's other options to really look at tonight who I'll get to in a few minutes here. But the Heat dropped a bomb on us. Almost everyone is out today. Goran Dragic was going to be out anyway, but Dwayne Wade is out. Luol Deng is out. Hassan Whiteside is out. So you're looking at 8 or 9 healthy bodies for the Heat, and you're looking at guys like Tyler Johnson. Beno Udrih is a game-time decision, so keep an eye on that one. But looking at guys like Joe Green, Justice Winslow, who are intriguing punt plays, but are in a tough matchup against Toronto. So they do free up some salary, but not a great matchup, but still will likely hit value at all their prices. George Hill has been ruled out tonight, and that just means you're going to see more Monta Ellis there in Indiana. So he's been playing well. I really like that game for GPPs just because there are some high-priced plays there, and the game does have to stay close, but it was a great fantasy production game the last time those two played. Patrick Beverley is questionable tonight, and that means if he doesn't play, he didn't participate in shoot-around this morning, so you're going to see some Lawson, who had a pretty solid game last time out, and he played big minutes. He played 35, went 18, 3 and 5 there. Shot 61% from the field. You got to expect James Harden to see the ball in most of his hands most of the night. So Lawson could be an interesting play either way, especially if Patrick Beverley does sit. So keep an eye on that one. Not a bad matchup against Milwaukee, who's struggled defensively this season. Looking at other guys, Jeremy Lin, definitely a top value play for me tonight with Nicholas Batum out. He's been really solid when Batum is out. He's averaged over 20 points in 7 games that Batum sat out this season. He's seen a 24% usage rate in that time. So at just 5,100 on DK, he's definitely in play for me, especially against an Orlando team that's also has struggled against guards this season. So, you're looking at him to get over in the 30-minute mark, and he's definitely one of my top favorite point guard value plays tonight, especially if you're pairing him with a high-priced guy. Speaking of the high-priced guys, you got Westbrook and Curry both on the slate tonight with nice matchups for both of them. Obviously, Curry at home against Indiana, who he torched last game, going 29, 10, and 7. And Westbrook, who just continuously becomes a walking triple-double, averaging 12 assists in the last 6 games, and then averaging 15 points and 8 rebounds aside of that. So both those guys are in play, and with the value on tonight's slate, I don't mind paying up there. I like saving a little bit of cash. I like paying down for Chris Paul, who's just a little bit cheaper, but still cheap enough where you can kind of maybe bump up another player who you're on the fence about. Chris Paul in a nice matchup against the Knicks. Paul's been really consistently averaging 22, 10, and 4, and averaging 3.5 steals per game in that 4-game span. So it definitely gives you that high floor and that high upside you want for both tournaments and cash games, and still sitting under 10K. So I definitely like him tonight. If you're looking at GPP guys in the cheaper range, Kemba Walker, Isaiah Thomas, both guys to eye on because they're both in good spots tonight at a cheaper price tag than guys like Curry, Paul, and Westbrook. So they definitely can deliver upside. If you want to really dig deep, it's been risky the last couple games because Michael Carter-Williams' minutes have been down. He's played just 25 or 26 minutes in 3 of the last 4 games. So I'm not sure what's going on there. Nice matchup against Houston, especially if Ty Lawson's going to command the point guard spot with not a lot of defensive ability for him. So definitely an intriguing option. Moving over to shooting guard, as I mentioned, Dwayne Wade out, so you're going to see some Gerald Green, Tyler Johnson in that backcourt. Not bad punt plays, but still you're facing off against DeRozan and Kyle Lowry, who are 2 better defenders in the league. I'm not expecting much out of them, but more just salary relief plays. Looking up top, James Harden had just a massive game last time out, 33, 14, and 7. Played 36 minutes, 80 DraftKings points, just a phenomenal game, and sitting below 10K on FanDuel and sitting right at 10K on DK. I think without Dwight Howard tonight, I don't think there's no way around it. I think Harden's going to be the first guy slot into my lineups. He's just going to see he's had a 35% usage rate without Dwight Howard this season, so it's pretty much a safe bet, especially against this Milwaukee defense, that he has that high 50+ floor tonight. I mean, I just think he's your guy. You look a little lower, Jimmy Butler, questionable, but is probable. Actually, he's been upgraded to probable facing the Celtics tonight. So they've been tough against guards, but Jimmy Butler's proven to go solid against them, 27, 5, and 6 in 2 games on average against Boston this season. I think if I'm paying up, it's obviously going to be Harden tonight because they are at a similar price tag. So Butler kind of off the radar for me tonight just because of Harden. And looking at other options, Chris Middleton, really nice piece. I mean, people forget how bad Houston is defensively sometimes when we get our eyes all googly when Howard and Harden are playing well, but they've been bad defensively. And Chris Middleton, he's been playing great basketball, averaging 22, 5, and 5 in the last 5 games, and he's a guy who sees huge minutes as well, nearing 40 on average in the last 5 games, and he's definitely a guy who can go off for 40 plus fantasy points at a cheaper price tag. So I do like Middleton in tournaments tonight. Going down the list, Monta Ellis I mentioned a little bit earlier. I'm not on him in cash games, but GPP is not a bad idea just because he would be a pivot off guys like Middleton, Rodney Hood in a nice spot for a little bit cheaper than him. I think if you're probably paying up, and then you're probably looking for a lot of value down low, which there is tonight. Evan Fournier had a nice 24-point fantasy point game against Philly last time out, played 37 minutes. If Oladipo sits, he's definitely in play for me again at that price tag. And you're looking at guys like Wes Matthews, who are also logging big minutes. But if you're going any cheaper, I mean, you got to look at Gerald Green tonight, who's going to be the offensive guy coming off the bench, or maybe not even coming off the bench. I haven't seen a projected Miami lineup, but he's going to see big minutes either way. So Green is definitely in play for me, if he gives it a go tonight. So keep an eye on that situation. Small forward, got your top options: Kevin Durant, Paul George, Carmelo Anthony. I really like Melo's price tonight, especially against the Clippers, who struggle on the wing. But Melo's been playing pretty solid basketball, 22, 6, and 6 in the last 3 games there, and he's averaging right around 40 fantasy points a game this season. So I don't think it's a bad matchup for him against Clippers. It's going to be a competitive game where you get stars coming together, which is always fun to watch. But I still think Durant, obviously, you're your top option, your high floor, high ceiling guy, and then Paul George, more of your GPP play. Looking a little bit lower, I mentioned Nicholas Batum being out. You're going to see Jeremy Lin. He's going to be the biggest beneficiary from that. You're going to see the ball in Kemba's hands a little bit more. Charlotte's pretty battered, so I look for Lin and Kemba to really carry the offensive load there. And your other GP play tonight is Giannis for Milwaukee, just 7,200 on DK. He's been playing phenomenal basketball, averaging 23 and 10 over the last 5 games. These Milwaukee guys outside of MCW play huge minutes, so you're going to get that locked in. And against Houston, they've really struggled this season. They ranked 27th in opposing points per game, and they do turn the ball over a ton. So Milwaukee does have some defensive upside with their steals, especially with all the length in that offense. Look at some cash game plays and that middle range. Love Jay Crowder. He continues to be really consistent. He's averaging 19, 2, and 6 over the last 6 games, and averaging about 35 DK points. And you're kind of going to see him in that 30 to 35 DK point range, which is always a nice spot. And you got to love that price of just 6,500. I think he's a great fit tonight, even if you're paying up at other positions, just because you're kind of looking for more value at that second point guard spot and the shooting guard spot alongside Harden. So Jay Crowder, really nice fit tonight. If you're looking any lower, you do have Justice Winslow, who's going to see minutes tonight. Played 36 minutes last game, saw 25 DK points, went 9, 6, and 6. The guy's going to be a future player. He's going to be a decent player in the NBA for some time. Just kind of sticking behind the veterans right now, but going to get a nice matchup with Toronto's small forward spot if he plays there. No DeMarre Carroll, so that is a bump for him. But Winslow sitting at 4K. I mean, definitely a viable punt option against Toronto tonight, especially with all the superstars on the slate to pay up for. If you're looking any lower, it's kind of hard to look at. There's not much if you can really punt. I think Justice Winslow is likely your lowest option. Joe Johnson, I guess a tournament play. He's still super cheap. He's been carrying big time upside lately. 39 DK, 33 over the last 5 games. So not a bad option, but still I'm not a big fan of targeting against the Jazz. Looking at power forward tonight, Draymond Green is your top option, but I just can't see paying that high price tag when he's averaging less than 40 fantasy points over the last 5 games. Guy is a triple-double threat, but I can't see it in this matchup. I can't see you paying up at that price tag. There's just too many other options. Blake Griffin out. You've continued to just see mix of Paul Pierce, Wesley Johnson on the wing at the 3 and the 4, so no real guys to target there. The bump has just really gone to Chris Paul and the guards of Jamal Crawford and JJ Redick. So if you're taking anyone from the Clipper side, it's going to be those 3 players. Like I said, Chris Bosh is going to be the guy tonight, the only starter. I can't see really paying up for him in cash games, but definitely an interesting GPP play because he can shoot the ball. Maybe he takes on a more of a peripheral role where he can tack on a couple extra assists and maybe goes down low and actually rebounds for once. That would be nice, but at that price tag, he does carry some upside, especially if it is the first option in that offense in Miami. LaMarcus Aldridge only played 21 minutes last game. I think you're going to see that again tonight against the Lakers, so that's a no-no for me. I really think this is a spot to pay down for tonight, depending on the site. Obviously, Pau Gasol is a power forward on FanDuel, but you're looking at guys like Clint Capella, Terrence Jones, who are both in great spots tonight, both going to flirt with that 25 to 30 minute range. And I prefer Capella, came in and stepped up huge. He's more of a defensive guy as well, averaging 2.2 steals plus blocks this season, and came in last game and filled in nicely in 28 minutes, went 10 and 13 with a block and a steal, and also shot the ball 14 times. So I really like Capella over Jones tonight, but I can't say no to either of them. So you're definitely paying down at one of those guys. Trey Lyles tonight, if Derek Favors sits, he's questionable. He was doubtful last game, so it's still iffy, but he did make the trip, so he's got to come play one of these nights. If Favors sits, Trey Lyles not a bad option. He's averaging 14 and 5 over the last 5 games, and he's seeing minutes in the 29, 28 range. So he's been a solid option defense or minutes wise, and not a bad matchup against the Brooklyn front court. If you're going any lower than that, an interesting one, if Dirk sits, is Charlie Villanueva. Just 3,300. Tough matchup against Serge Ibaka, though. But if you're looking for a punt play in like a GPP situation, if he sees 27 minutes, guy went 14-1-6 last game. Was an easier matchup, but for just 3,300, he definitely opened some salary relief for you. So definitely an option. Move over to center. Depending on the site, Pau Gasol is your top option tonight going against Boston, who he's dominated this season. He's averaged 16, 4, and 16 against them. And the guy just defensively has stepped it up. He's averaging 2.8 blocks plus steals in the last 5 games, and just a comfortable 15 and 10. You know what you're going to get out of Gasol, and with Noah out. Obviously, last game was a blowout against Golden State, but he's played 36 minutes in each of the last 3 games there, so definitely a solid option. Gasol is probably the easy fit at center on DK, and definitely my favorite power forward option if I'm paying up on FanDuel. Looking at the other center options, Hassan Whiteside is out, but there's going to be no big beneficiary from that one. They don't have a real backup center who's going to step in and play. So just kind of avoid that situation, and it's Bosh, if anyone. Looking at other guys, Nikola Vucevic gets a Charlotte's front court that's really hindered with injuries. Zeller's out right now, and of course Al Jefferson's been out for some time. Foose is a safe cash game option tonight. You're going to see him in that 30 to 35 fantasy point range, and he's been averaging about 14 and 11 in the last 3 games, which is about what you're going to get from him. So that nice double-double floor. It does carry some upside, but it hasn't been that upside. We haven't seen it for some time since he had that big stretch down in December. So nice matchup for him, but definitely just a cash game option. I think there's lower guys with his upside. And looking at the guys like that, Greg Monroe, going to see a front court without Dwight Howard. Monroe's been playing great basketball, averaging 17 and 11 over the last 5 games. The minutes thing is really one downside to him is as good as he's been fantasy points per minute wise, playing 27 to 30 minutes, it's not something I really want from a guy who's over 7K. Even though he's been averaging 31, or he's got 31, 38, 39, 41 the last 4 games as far as DK points go. I still want just a little bit more minutes, but Monroe, a nice GPP play tonight because I don't think a ton of guys are going to be on him. And if you're looking at center, Rudy Gobert, really nice price on DK, especially if Favors sits. He's averaging 9 and 12 in the last 5 games. Obviously, he has big block upside, and I really like his DK price. I think he is a cash game play for me, more of a GPP play on FanDuel, but averaging 33 DK points in the last 5 games, starting to play bigger minutes. Of course, he did have some overtime games there, but saw 30 in the 2 games prior to that. He's definitely in play for me at just 6,400. Brooklyn's not been a good rebounding team. They haven't been good defensively against centers this season. If you're going cheaper, Frank Kaminsky in play tonight with Zeller out. He played 31 minutes last game, 25 the game before, 30 the game before that. 31, 26, and 21 DK points at just 4,800. Solid against what has been a better Orlando defense this season, but still one to really target against. So I do like Kaminsky in both cash and GPP tonight at that price. And probably the moment you've all been waiting for is the Boban show, who he's just everyone's favorite player. I mean, he played 21 minutes last night, was 17 and 13 with the steal, shot 6 of 10. I mean, he's your highest fantasy points per minute player on the slate. Obviously, he doesn't seem to see huge minutes, but when he does, which he likely will tonight against the Lakers, I mean, the guy is definitely in play at a bare minimum price tag. So, I mean, if he can get you 35 at 3,200, you're sitting pretty for a lot of other guys if you hit him right. So, Boban definitely in play with the blowout. He's going to see minutes. You're not going to see Duncan or Aldridge down low get minutes. You're not going to see Diaz sneak in and get minutes. You're going to see Boban hopefully in that 20 to 25 range. So he's definitely in play for me. That's going to wrap things up here at the Minutes to Win It podcast. Check out dailyfantasycafe.com for our lineup optimizer, Colossus, all our Vegas tools, cheat sheets, you name it, we got it covered.